Let me share a thought that could surprise you quite a bit. Imagine if tomorrow I found myself with nothing at all, no money in my pocket, no stocks or holdings, no ventures to my name, no influence to leverage, just the shirt on my back and the wisdom I've gathered. It'd still be fully assured that I could reconstruct significant riches, even hitting 70, right? From rock bottom, I can guess what's crossing your mind. That's simple for someone like you to claim. You've dedicated your entire career to mastering investments. Your network is something the average person can only fantasize about. Those abilities of yours were honed across many years. So how does this connect to regular folks lacking your history or expertise? That's precisely the reason I'm eager to discuss this now, as the strategies I'd employ for recovery aren't tied to exclusive networks or rare talent. Instead, they're rooted in essential realities of generating prosperity that everybody can use, no matter their stage in life or where they begin. These aren't hidden gems just for the elite. They're enduring guidelines that have proven effective across eras and remain reliable for whoever commits to using them. I've pondered this scenario extensively through the years. It's more than a mental drill. It's a method to rigorously evaluate my grasp on the true mechanics of fortune building. Remove every edge I've gained, the build-up assets, the long-term growth from years of interest, what remains. Which foundational ideas truly produce riches out of thin air? Those insights have influenced my perspectives on finances, commerce, and existence as a whole. Right here and now, it'll outline precisely the actions it'd take, one after another. Should I need to restart entirely at age 70, it'll keep it detailed and actionable while detailing the logic for each part, allowing you to adapt these concepts to your personal context. Prior to jumping into those details, allow me to recount an anecdote that shows why I'm so convinced prosperity can be restored regardless of years lived. In the 1970s, there was a fellow I knew who'd thrived as an entrepreneur during his 40s. Had established a successful series of shops, owned a fine house, quality vehicles, every mark of accomplishment. But the market shifted, his field evolved, and in a mere couple of years, it all crumbled. Insolvency, separation. At 48, he faced a fresh start, burdened only by obligations and remorse. The majority facing this would throw in the towel. They'd settle into a reduced existence, grab a secure position, and pass their later days resenting the vanished success. Yet this individual took another route. He assessed his remaining strengths, chiefly his expertise in merchandising and ties to vendors. He began by launching a modest advisory service, guiding fellow shop owners on streamlining their businesses. At the outset, his fees were minimal. He settled into a compact living space and stuck to inexpensive meals. Yet any surplus earnings beyond essentials went straight into savings and then into wise investments. He selected stocks from strong firms, plowed back the payouts, and trusted the power of growth over time. In just a decade, had restored a fortune worth millions. When he turned 70, his prosperity surpassed anything from his pre-collapse days. Tales like his aren't rare at all. The annals of time are packed with individuals who hit rock bottom and rose again. The key difference between victors and those who remain down isn't fortune or innate talent. It's the steady commitment to time-tested strategies applied without fail. Those very strategies are what I'll lay out for you right now. Let's begin with my initial move, which could catch you off guard. It'd dedicate a whole day to zero output. It'd give space to absorb the setback fully, letting the sorrow flow through. For a short while, it'd likely indulge in self-pity. It'd face the pain of seeing a lifetime's work vanish. But soon after it'd wrap it up, this could appear unproductive, yet it's vital. Folks who stumble in recovery often either bury their feelings deep only to collapse from built-up tension later, or linger endlessly in regret without ever stepping up. No such tactic succeeds. The effective path is to recognize the setback, handle it swiftly, and advance with sharp focus and renewed vigor. A single day for mourning, then straight to action. This isn't cold-heartedness. It's pure pragmatism. The damage is done. Endless lament won't reverse it. All that matters is your next steps. Next up, I'd catalog everything I truly possess. Not cash, since in this case there's zilch, but other valuables like abilities, insights, hours ahead, bodily vitality, sharp thinking, and personal ties. Such resources are hugely overlooked by most. To break it down, consider the talents you've honed, perhaps repairing items, marketing products, structuring tasks, instructing others, or crafting new ideas. No matter how empty your wallet, those competencies stick around. They're the foundation for sparking fresh earnings. Insights cover your grasp of realities, mechanics, details on particular sectors, grasp of people's minds, factors that drive ventures to thrive or flop. ways to sidestep pitfalls that erase fortunes. Gained across decades, this wisdom grows richer with age. Someone restarting at 70 holds vastly more wisdom than a 25-year-old newcomer. That edge is a real leg up in competition, and the hours you have left fuel the use of those talents and insights. Sure, at 70 it'd have fewer years than youth provides, yet with solid well-being. 15 to 20 more productive ones seem feasible. Wisely spent, that's ample for amassing real riches. Your bodily condition sets the level of drive you can muster for revival. In later years, like 70, upkeep demands extra effort compared to 3 decades prior. Still, through smart habits, nutrition, workouts, checkups, plenty of seniors stay vigorous and full of pep. Well-being stands as a key, holding that needs safeguarding and nurturing. Clear-headedness means sustaining sharp judgment, solid choices, and steady concentration long-term. For fortune building, this might outrank physical fitness. Even with a fading frame but keen intellect, prosperity is possible, but a robust physique paired with foggy thoughts leads nowhere. Personal bonds involve links to folks who could offer chances, backing, guidance, or mere uplift. I'm not suggesting manipulation for profit. I mean genuine human ties that add depth and purpose to existence and sometimes unlock honest pathways forward. I'd compile a thorough roster of every such resource. What talents have I honed over the years? What insights have I gathered along the way? How many years of meaningful effort might lie ahead of me? What is my present physical condition, and what steps could I take to enhance it? And which personal connections truly add depth to my days? This detailed review would serve as the bedrock for my revival plan, since true prosperity does not stem from cash reserves alone. True prosperity comes from wisely leveraging diverse resources. Funds emerge as the outcome, not the initial spark. Moving to the next phase, I would prioritize establishing solid ground right away. To even contemplate amassing riches, I would first guarantee day-to-day survival, a place to stay, meals prepared, core needs fulfilled, bills settled, and reliable ways to commute for any opportunities. For a 70-year-old in the U.S., this could hinge on Social Security benefits. Assuming I had logged the required work periods to be eligible, it is a modest sum, yet it delivers a reliable stream to tackle at least the essentials. That base sets the stage for growth. On top of Social Security, I would pursue any honest employment that could be grabbed quickly to ramp up funds. In my 70s, this might involve flexible shifts aligned with my energy levels. It could be sharing knowledge through guidance or consultations if my background held appeal, or if options were limited, turning to freelance tasks like transport services or errands. Essentially anything to boost earnings past the bare minimum. Ego would have no place in this. Ego stands as a major barrier to recovery. Anyone who dismisses roles they view as inferior, shuns assistance from loved ones, or lets vanity override basic needs, that individual will not rise again effectively. Should it come to stocking shelves, handling calls at a desk, or tending gardens for locals, I would embrace it readily. The exact job is not the focus. The priority is creating cash to steady my footing. Temporarily leaning on relatives or close companions for aid might be necessary too. For someone accustomed to self-reliance and achievement, this stings, yet ego must step aside once more. If kin offered short-term lodging or financial relief as I regained balance, welcoming it would be the wise choice. I would communicate my intent to regain independence swiftly and push diligently to shorten any reliance in this settling period. At the same time, I would adopt a no-holds-barred stance on spending. I would seek out the most affordable yet secure and tidy living arrangement, a cozy unit, a shared space, or similar to housing fees. I would eliminate all non-vital outlays. Goodbye to premium TV, online subscriptions, meals away from home, leisure costs, recurring fees, fresh attire except in dire need. I would prepare every dish myself using budget-friendly, wholesome staples. Think staples like grains and legumes, poultry, basic proteins, preserved. Produce straightforward, nourishing options at rock-bottom prices. I would opt for foot travel over vehicles where possible. Rely on public resources for reading instead of purchases. Seek no-cost amusements rather than paid ones. It could feel like austerity to some, but not to me. To me, it would represent advancement. Each buck spared from splurges became one prime for growth through savings or placement. Slashing every cost edged me nearer to solid footing. Embracing such strict thrift would spark a sense of accomplishment, not embarrassment. And let us get straightforward on the numbers involved. Prosperity grows from the spread between earnings and outgoings. Widen that spread and accumulation speeds up. Launching from scratch means every cent holds immense weight. A preserved dollar can grow via investment and multiplication. A squandered one vanishes forever. In one's 70s, with fewer seasons for growth to unfold, amplifying that divide between inflows and outflows becomes vital, far more so than in youth. I would cherish each dollar, scrutinize all spending, and channel the bulk toward future foundations. Shifting ahead, my fourth move would involve crafting substantial earnings above mere survival levels. Meeting bills is crucial yet incomplete. Real fortune demands extra funds for placement. Produce beyond what you use, then smartly channel that excess. Given my experience in finance and enterprises at 70, I would likely chase roles offering insights on investments or strategies. Folks constantly seek aid with money matters. Entrepreneurs crave tactical input. Everyday people want portfolio tips. Firms desire seasoned advisors on panels. Still, let us widen the lens here. Suppose I lack niche know-how in markets or operations. Imagine rebooting as a typical septuagenarian without standout skills. Even then, creating revenue remains entirely feasible. The contemporary economic landscape is brimming with avenues to earn revenue simply by offering assistance to those around you. None of these paths demand sophisticated qualifications or formal training. For instance, think about administrative aid and record-keeping roles. Plenty of modest enterprises seek reliable support for organizing finances, inputting information, managing calendars, or handling routine duties. If you are methodical, dependable, and familiar with everyday software, much of this can even be handled from your own space remotely. Or consider educational guidance and mentoring. Anyone with expertise in a school topic, practical trade, or hobby can find eager learners willing to compensate. This includes academic coaching, exam preparation, playing instruments, picking up dialects, honing handicrafts, or sharing life skills. Similarly, services like animal tending or property oversight appeal to travelers who require trustworthy caretakers for their companions or residences. Traits like maturity and dependability, often more pronounced in someone of advanced years, give a clear edge over less seasoned options. Then there is personal task support and concierge work. Overloaded executives frequently outsource errands such as purchasing goods, handling collections, managing shipments, or overseeing appointments. These can yield solid per-hour pay. For those with a dependable car and a clean record, transport gigs through apps provide adaptable earning potential. They fit your timetable and deliver quick payouts, and do not overlook manual fixes if you are up for it. Demanding households from harried workers to aging residents regularly pay for straightforward upkeep, like mending pipes, repairing walls, refreshing interiors, or putting together items. There is steady need and fair compensation for flexible hours. The essential takeaway here is that earnings are not constrained by your formal history, qualifications, or even your stage in life. What truly caps it is your readiness to deliver real benefits to others. If you ease their burdens, resolve their issues, or fulfill their requirements, revenue follows naturally. The exact method is secondary to this core idea. I would dive right into accessible openings without delay, avoiding the trap of holding out for ideal setups and then steadily seek enhancements to boost my returns. This could involve scaling up to premium offerings as I spot high demand areas. It could mean expanding my clientele through extended efforts at first. It could involve adjusting fees upward with a track record of excellence, or acquiring fresh competencies for better pay. The aim stays on perpetual advancement, doggedly elevating income levels. Now, turning to my fifth key action, I would kick off placements without hesitation, beginning with minimal sums. Many assume substantial funds are needed to begin. They delay until they have amassed a hefty nest egg before setting up accounts. This delay squanders precious periods for growth and skill building. In reality, committing even a modest $10 weekly justifies an immediate launch. Today, investment apps have removed hurdles like entry thresholds and transaction costs. They enable purchases of partial stakes in firms with whatever you have. This leaves only mental blocks in the way. The value in tiny starts is primarily that placement skills demand hands-on trial. You hone how to appraise options. You cultivate resilience amid fluctuations. You grasp market dynamics. You decipher reports. You analyze statements. You gauge worth. Launching early accelerates mastery. Crucially, early errors with pocket change teach affordably. This is far better than blunders costing thousands later on. Moreover, ingraining the routine of steady contributions outweighs the scale. As surplus expands, you will naturally scale up because it is ingrained behavior. Those who postpone often miss forging this pattern. They hoard, then divert funds elsewhere. They forfeit the exponential gains from habitual commitment. Thus, I would swiftly establish an account on a no-fee service. I would connect my banking. I would arrange recurring deposits no matter how small, like $5 or $10. I would commence acquiring slivers of solid enterprises. Given a zero start at 70, I would lean toward cautious tactics. I would never speculate on high-risk stocks, chase the latest market fads, or waste time searching for a miracle company promised to grow tenfold. At my age, time is a luxury I no longer have, and I cannot afford the years it would take to recover from devastating financial losses. Consequently, the avoidance of risk is my absolute priority. I would concentrate my resources entirely on the most rock-solid, established, and dependable corporations on the planet. These are enterprises with a verified history of paying dividends for consecutive decades without a single skip. They provide the fundamental goods and services that people require every single day, regardless of whether the global economy is thriving or in a tailspin. I need companies that are guaranteed to be operational and profitable when I reach 80 or 90 years old. To be precise, I am referring to consumer staple giants like Procter & Gamble, which has distributed dividends consistently for over a century. Such companies sell the essentials: toothpaste, laundry, detergent, diapers, and razors, items that consumers buy whether the market is booming or collapsing. Because demand for these products remains remarkably constant, the businesses themselves remain incredibly stable. I would also look toward healthcare leaders like Johnson & Johnson, which has successfully increased its dividend for more than 60 years straight. People require medical care, bandages, and medicine regardless of economic cycles. This unyielding demand ensures reliable profits. Furthermore, I would consider beverage icons like Coca-Cola, which generates massive cash flow across 200 countries. No matter the era, people buy beverages. The business model is transparent, the brand is dominant, and the dividends have been paid for generations. To some, these may seem like incredibly dull investments. They are indeed boring, and that is exactly the point. Starting over at 70, I have no desire for excitement or volatility. I demand total reliability. I want dividends that arrive in my account every quarter with the precision of a Swiss watch. I want share prices that climb slowly and steadily rather than swinging erratically. While conservative investing might yield lower returns during a bull market compared to aggressive strategies, it effectively eliminates the catastrophic wipeouts that destroy speculators during a crash. When you are 70 and starting from zero, protecting your remaining capital is infinitely more important than chasing the highest possible upside. Furthermore, my sixth step would be a relentless focus on increasing my personal income over time. Once my basic survival costs are secured and the habit of investing is locked in, growing my income becomes the primary engine for wealth accumulation. There is a mathematical reality that many overlook. Investment returns are dictated by the size of the principal. A 10% return on $1,000 is only $100, but a 10% return on $100,000 is $10,000. In the early stages of rebuilding, when the portfolio is still small, the market returns are almost negligible. The real driver of wealth is the amount of new capital you can inject into that portfolio each year, which is determined by the margin between what you earn and what you spend. Since I would have already slashed my expenses to the absolute minimum, the only lever left to pull is increasing my income. Every extra dollar earned is a dollar that can be put to work through compounding. I would treat income growth as my primary mission. Every week I would analyze how to earn more every month. I would audit my activities for potential upgrades. I would ask, can I offer higher value services? If I am doing manual labor or handyman work, can I acquire a specialized certification to charge a premium? If I am providing administrative support, can I learn advanced systems to serve larger corporate clients? Can I increase my efficiency to handle more volume or raise my rates as my reputation for excellence grows? Most people undervalue their own labor. Regular incremental price increases can lead to massive gains over time. Additionally, I would seek out scalable income revenue sources that do not require a direct trade of time for money. This includes writing a book based on a lifetime of accumulated wisdom, which can be sold indefinitely via self-publishing platforms, providing royalties even while I sleep. Or creating an online course to teach valuable skills. Once the content is produced, it can serve thousands of students without further effort from me.
Building a content platform or a newsletter can also monetize an audience through sponsorships and ads.
For a 70-year-old, these scalable models are ideal because they continue to produce wealth even if physical energy begins to wane. A digital asset created at 75 can still provide for me at 85. Finally, the seventh step is to protect what I am building with increasing intensity as the pile grows. Every dollar saved represents time I can never get back. Losing a significant portion of my wealth now would be a final irreversible blow. Therefore, as I progress, my vigilance in defending my assets must grow in tandem with the assets themselves. As my wealth begins to accumulate, the necessity of guarding that portfolio becomes increasingly vital with every passing day. This strategic protection manifests in several non-negotiable practices. First and foremost, I would strictly avoid concentrated positions regardless of how alluring an opportunity might appear. I would never permit a disproportionate amount of my capital to be tied to a single asset. Diversification is my primary shield, spreading risk across a wide array of industries and stable corporations to ensure that a single failure cannot lead to a total financial catastrophe. Furthermore, I would renounce all speculative gambles. Rather than chasing unproven startups in the hope of finding the next market miracle, I would anchor my strategy in established enterprises with long, transparent histories of consistent profitability and reliable dividend payments. While such a path lacks the adrenaline of high-stakes trading, it provides the essential safety required at this stage of life. In tandem with this, I would operate under a zero-leverage policy. Borrowing capital to invest is a dangerous game that amplifies losses just as easily as gains, a risk that is simply unacceptable when starting from zero at age 70. A single market downturn on a leveraged position could result in being worse off than at the beginning, trapped in debt with no time to recover. In the complex landscape of modern finance, I would also flatly refuse any investment that I do not thoroughly comprehend.
The world is awash in convoluted products, derivatives, structured notes, private placements, and volatile cryptocurrencies that promise astronomical returns. While some may be valid, if I cannot clearly articulate how a product functions or evaluate its underlying risks, I will not touch it. Simple, transparent investments are the only tools I would use. Beyond the markets, protection also means managing the physical risks that could derail my financial journey. At 70, health is not just a personal matter, it is the ultimate economic asset. A serious illness would be doubly devastating, destroying my capacity to earn while simultaneously draining my savings through medical bills. To counter this, I would invest aggressively in my own well-being through daily exercise such as brisk walking and a meticulous diet focused on longevity rather than immediate cravings. Regular medical screenings, adequate rest, and proactive stress management would be treated as mandatory business maintenance. Additionally, I would secure the most robust insurance coverage available, covering health, liability, and property to ensure that one unforeseen disaster does not erase years of diligent work. Perhaps the most challenging element of this entire endeavor is maintaining the patience required for compounding to manifest its true power. When you begin late in life, the pressure of the ticking clock can make the early stages feel agonizingly stagnant. You invest faithfully every single month, yet the balance seems to barely move because the initial base is small. However, the eighth and final pillar of my strategy is to trust this invisible acceleration. Compounding is like a snowball. It starts as a tiny, slow-moving speck, but eventually it reaches a critical mass where it generates its own momentum. Let us look at the reality of the math. If I were to invest $2,000 monthly at a 7% annual return, the first year would only yield about $25,000, with compounding contributing very little. By year 5, the total would reach roughly $140,000. Respectable, but not yet life-changing. But by year 10, the balance would surge to approximately $330,000. At this stage, the interest begins to earn its own interest at a pace that dwarfs the initial effort. Even if I stopped contributing entirely at that point, the portfolio would swell to nearly $650,000 over the following decade. This is why consistency is the ultimate differentiator. Those who abandon the plan because the first few years seem boring or slow never survive long enough to witness the exponential explosion of wealth that occurs in the later stages. While I may not have 40 years of runway, a 10 to 20 year horizon with optimized health is more than enough time to achieve substantial results. By calibrating my expectations to this realistic timeline and refusing to be discouraged by the slow start, I can ensure that a decade of disciplined effort results in a legacy of genuine financial security. As the figures previously discussed demonstrate, the vital ingredient for success is unwavering patience during those initial sluggish years. You must place your faith in the system and persist in your investments, even when the balance appears frustratingly stagnant, holding on to the certainty that exponential growth is gathering momentum just beneath the surface. However, we must now address the mental hurdles of a fresh start at 70, as these psychological barriers often prove far more formidable than any practical obstacle. While the logistical steps are straightforward, it is the mind that frequently falters.
The most imposing of these mental traps is the ego. For someone who has tasted success, commanded respect, and enjoyed a certain status, the act of starting over is deeply humbling, bordering on the mortifying. It requires a raw admission of failure and the willingness to seek help from others. It demands that you accept roles that may feel beneath you and live in a manner that feels mismatched with your history. Every encounter with those who remember your past glory can feel like a stinging reminder of what was lost. Many are destroyed by this pride. They are so tethered to a ghost of their former selves that they refuse to take the modest necessary actions to build a new future. They cling to the facade of status while the opportunity for real progress slips away. I would combat this by treating ego as the ultimate enemy. The only metric that matters is action. If the situation demands starting at the very bottom, I will do so without a word of protest or a seed of resentment. True winners are those who can bury their pride in exchange for progress. Closely following ego is the paralyzing grip of fear. At 70, the stakes are undeniably high and the runway for recovery is short. This can lead to a state of analysis paralysis, where the terror of making a wrong move results in making no move at all. You find yourself waiting for a perfect certainty that simply does not exist in the financial world. I would overcome this fear by detaching from outcomes and obsessing over the process. I cannot dictate the whims of the market, but I can dictate my own discipline. By focusing on the daily execution, showing up, working hard, and investing consistently, I allow the results to take care of themselves. Then there is the trap of regret, the destructive habit of looking into the rearview mirror and agonizing over what ifs. While natural, this grief changes nothing about the past and only drains the vital energy needed for the future. I would allow myself only a brief moment to acknowledge my mistakes before ruthlessly releasing them. Every second wasted on regret is a second stolen from the rebuilding effort. Similarly, I would guard against the poison of envy. It is easy to look at peers who are comfortable in their retirement and feel a bitter sense of injustice. Envy is a hollow emotion. It provides no value and only distracts you from your own path. I would remind myself that my only true competition is the person I was yesterday. If I am moving forward, I am winning regardless of how fast others are traveling. Maintaining hope when the destination seems leagues away is the final psychological frontier. At 70, the finish line can feel out of reach, making daily efforts seem like drops in a vast ocean. To keep my spirit intact, I would meticulously track every small victory, a slight increase in weekly pay, a modest addition to the portfolio, or a quarter of steady growth. I would also immerse myself in the chronicles of others who triumphed over late life adversity, using their success as both a blueprint and a beacon of possibility. To accelerate this journey, I would implement several tactical maneuvers. First, I would conduct a brutal audit of my time. At this stage of life, time is more precious than gold. I would track every minute, identifying and purging any habit from mindless media consumption to empty social obligations that does not serve my health, my income, or my growth. Every hour must be an intentional investment. Second, I would not let pride prevent me from utilizing whatever invisible capital I have left. Whether it is a professional reputation, a network of old contacts, or specialized wisdom, I would leverage these remaining advantages to open doors. The objective is to rebuild wealth, not to win a prize for the most difficult path. Furthermore, I would commit to being a perpetual student. In a shifting economy, adaptability is power. I would stay hungry for new skills that could boost my earning potential, refusing to become rigid or obsolete. I would also seek out the counsel of mentors who have navigated similar storms, absorbing their hard-won lessons to avoid making the same errors myself. Finally, I would document the entire process. Recording my journey would not only sharpen my clarity, but also create a roadmap that might one day inspire someone else standing where I am today. By focusing on these tactical and psychological shifts, I would turn a daunting reset into a masterclass in resilience. Success is not the byproduct of fortuitous luck, inherent genius, or unearned advantages. It is the harvest of relentless discipline, deep-seated patience, and sustained effort over time. These fundamental laws of wealth remain immutable and accessible to anyone willing to embrace them. To help maintain your drive during the grueling early stages, I want to outline a realistic projection of how this journey of restoration would actually materialize. In the initial 6 months, my singular priority would be stabilization. This involves securing a modest roof over my head, establishing a baseline cash flow, slashing every non-essential expenditure, and launching investment accounts to start contributing even the smallest fractions of capital. This phase often feels turbulent and directionless, as progress is nearly invisible, yet its sole purpose is to construct the bedrock upon which everything else will rest. By the conclusion of the first year, I would expect to have attained a state of basic equilibrium. Housing is stable, income marginally exceeds costs, and a fledgling portfolio has begun to breathe. We are not accumulating massive wealth, yet we are installing the habits and systems that make wealth inevitable. Moving into years 2 and 3, the focus shifts toward aggressive income optimization. The desperate scramble for any available work transitions into a strategic pursuit of high-value services. As I refine my expertise and build a reputable name, my monthly earnings would grow, allowing for larger investment contributions. By the end of year 3, having perhaps $20,000 to $30,000 invested would be a modest but undeniable victory over a starting point of 0. By years 4 and 5, momentum becomes palpable. Income streams are fine-tuned, and the portfolio reaches a size where market returns start to register. By the 5-year mark, a portfolio between $50,000 and $100,000 is achievable, a testament to 5 years of grit and extreme financial discipline. The true magic occurs between years 6 and 10. At this stage, the acceleration is breathtaking. The portfolio reaches a critical mass where investment returns begin to contribute as much as or more than active labor. By the time I hit age 80, after a decade of consistency, I would realistically aim for a net worth between $200,000 and $400,000. While this may not be a sprawling fortune compared to a lifelong career, it is a staggering achievement starting from nothing at 70. Combined with Social Security and conservative dividend yields, it guarantees a life of dignity, comfort, and security. It is worth noting how this strategy adapts across different life stages. A person in their 20s or 30s, starting from scratch, has the ultimate luxury, a 40-year runway. They can afford the volatility of aggressive growth stocks and high-stakes career moves. In your 40s or 50s, the strategy becomes a hybrid of growth and preservation, where there is still time for compounding but less room for catastrophic error. By your 60s and 70s, the focus must pivot heavily toward capital preservation, reliable dividend income, and maximizing immediate cash flow. The core principles are universal, only the risk tolerance and time horizon change. Common concern is the possibility of failure. What if the health fails, the markets crash, or the opportunities vanish? The honest reality is that success is never a guarantee. However, following these proven principles exponentially increases your odds compared to doing nothing. Even if I were to fall short of my ultimate goal, there is profound dignity in the attempt. I would find peace in knowing I utilized every ounce of my accumulated wisdom. Furthermore, partial success is still a massive improvement over total surrender. Some wealth, some income, and some progress are infinitely better than none. Ultimately, this journey requires a purpose deeper than just digits in a bank account. For me, the why has always been independence, the radical freedom to own my time and face the world without financial chains. Whether your purpose is providing for family, supporting a cause, or leaving a legacy, you must identify the motivator that will sustain you when the path becomes steep. Clarifying this vision is as essential as any investment choice. This scenario of losing everything at 70 is an extreme test, but its lessons apply to anyone who feels behind or wants to elevate their current financial standing. The path is clear. Minimize expenses, maximize earnings, invest the surplus in quality assets, guard against loss, and wait for compounding to do its work. Wealth creation is not a mystery or a secret reserved for the elite. It is a discipline available to any individual with the courage to start. The most important thing to remember is that while the best time to start was years ago, the second best time is this very moment. Regardless of your current setbacks or your age, today is the day to act. Do not wait for perfect conditions. Open that account, cut that expense, or find that new income stream today. Wealth is built through tiny, consistent actions repeated relentlessly. Each step may seem minor, but in the aggregate, they create an unstoppable force. There is no secret. There's only discipline, consistency, and time. And anyone at any age can begin